A lot of women who've never been married and never been in long-term relationships always assume the worst. A lot of these women are just assuming based off of a story that they hear. You don't really talk to majority of married women and really get their perspective, because the majority of the married people who've been married 20 plus years all say the same thing. You need to compromise and you work with each other. And if you love each other, you can do it. That marriage is work. Marriage is ups and downs. And I think a lot of modern women have this misconception of what they think a marriage should be. So of course, you're going to look at it in a negative way because you're trained to do so. You're trained to think that marriage is not something you should have, because they want y'all out here single, lost, with no real family structure. They want you out here single, working, paying taxes. They want you out here by yourself without a man to lean on. You know what I'm saying? So yes, of course, that's the narrative that they want you to believe. And so the minute these women get one story of a person who had a problem in their marriage, oh, that's the majority of marriage. Anybody who's been married 20 plus years, I don't trust it. Yeah, of course you won't, because you don't know, you've never seen it. And you've never seen any, you don't want to see it because it's something, it's almost like a convincing yourself that this is the case. So, oh, I don't have to aspire to have that, or because I probably won't get it, then I got to hate what I can't have. And I got to point it out in a negative light because there can't be any marriages, people who've been married, oh my God, they've been through this, their spouses are disrespecting them and doing this and all of that. And that's just not the case. I think if you look at marriage for what it is and how beautiful it can be, and just look at it as a working together, a togetherness, then you won't have that negative opinion of it. One person who had a bad marriage or marriage, or a few people, whoever, that's not a representation of all married people. No, a marriage that's lasted 20 plus years should be something that you aspire to have, especially if you want meaningful, lasting relationships and you want to build a family. If you really want a stable household and a stable relationship and a stable livelihood, then that is something you should aspire to have, because when you fully understand what it's about. But if you're out here thinking that a relationship should be fun times and everything I get my way, then you're sadly mistaken. You're never gonna have that. Stop. No, because you're full. You're not being real. You haven't experienced marriage, from what I gather. You haven't experienced the 20 plus years in a relationship. So you can't be real about something you've never experienced, honey. You can't be real about somebody else's story. That's one person's story. That her story was horrible. That's not an indication of everybody else's story. Married woman here for over 20 years, and I can't relate to that. So you can't put every marriage in that box. You can't do that. Y'all got to stop doing that. You got to stop generalizing everybody's experience and making it into what you think it should be, because you don't think you'll get it, or you've convinced yourself that you don't want it, honey. I feel sorry for a lot of these young women. They really have, they're really lost in the sauce. A lot of these people are just lost in the sauce, y'all. And there's nothing you can do. You can't, everybody has their own opinion and what they think about things, this is why I say experience is the best teacher. I think we all have. Look, I remember being younger and having certain ideas and thoughts, and you could make perfect sense of stuff and have a idea of what you think something is before you actually experiencing it. You could have certain views on stuff that you've never had to deal with, certain things that you've never had, never experience. You can have all the great things to say before you actually go through something. But when you actually go through things, then you have a different perspective. Then you can say whether it's like this or it's like that, because you've actually experienced it. To me, experience is the best teacher. And some people have experienced bad relationships, but the thing about experiencing a bad relationship is you're supposed to learn from it. So even if you've experienced that, you're supposed to learn from it. You're supposed to look at it and say, okay, where did I go wrong? You got to still take accountability for certain things. Why did you allow yourself to be in a relationship that was toxic? Why did you give children to a man that you knew was toxic? Why? Well, if you knew he was a narcissist and you knew all these things about him, you've been with him for quite some time. Why did you allow yourself to be in that relationship? And it's not to say, oh, I'm the bad person and all the blame. No, just take accountability for your actions, how you contributed to it, and take that away from it so you won't do it in the next situation. So you have to take some accountability on your actions, the lack thereof, the choices that you made, and all of that, so you won't repeat it. But far too often, oh, these women are so perfect, they don't have no flaws, they do no wrong. So you miss those red flags. You miss the accountability on your part, and you keep falling in the same situations over and over and over again. And the longer you keep doing that and never take accountability for your part, you're gonna just end up by yourself, because you don't have that kind of time, and you're not going to always have all these options available to you. So what happens is, by the time you play these games and lack self-awareness and accountability, you're old. You're a senior citizen now. So once you become a senior citizen, it's going to be harder for you to demand a certain caliber of man at that point. And we see it every day on Kendra G. These older broads out here thinking that they can command these six-figure men, and it's not happening because you've never worked on yourself. So you can't attract that type of man, because he can see right through you. He sees that you're not his, first off, you're 60 years old, 50, 60. These men don't want you. And you can't shame them into wanting you. And that's just what it is. You've missed your options. You've missed your time. And that's it. You got to deal with where you are and be content there until the end. Let's be clear and let's be honest. These women want to be victims so much. But at the same time, you want a good man, but you're not even prepared for one. You're only used to situationships with Pookie and Ray Ray, child. You're used to a man that you are attracted to just using you for sex, and you using him for it too, and you think you're gonna make him do something more by giving him a baby, and then you have a baby for him, and then he still do what he's always done. That's it. And then you cry to the world, oh my God, men are just trash. No, the ones that you dealt with, honey. You didn't have the discernment, and you didn't have the wherewithal to distinguish what type of man he was, because you were blinded by the swag, and that you were attracted to swag, and he tall, dark, and handsome. He was swag, but you didn't care that he didn't have anything else going for himself. So you put yourself in that position, baby. Don't put all men in that category, because that's not all men at all. And you're stuck on your type, and your type is not yielding you nothing but a single mother. So if you ask me, I think a lot of women need to get their shit together, and they need to realize what's important and figure out what it is that you really want. Because what they say they want, they really don't. Because when it comes in contact with them, they don't know what to do with it. They're not prepared. Prepare yourself for what it is that you want. Stop complaining and saying that all men are the problem, when a lot of you women are the problems. And you don't want to level up, and you don't want to use your so-called intuition and all this stuff that y'all have, but y'all never use it to see through a lot of these men that finesse y'all on a regular basis. You can't see it because you're blinded by swag and, oh, he's my type. But you can't see nothing past that. So what's the use of this intuition if it doesn't benefit you, if it don't give you the information that you really need?